Thank you. Appreciate it. So you all going to have some entertainment while I talk. This is my Eartha Kitt kind of uh, imitation. I lost my voice yesterday before coming, so please bear with me. I just want to say thank you to Kevin and to Isel and the Regional Foundation for inviting me to speak today. It's a pleasure to be among you. We have other PIDC colleagues here because we really have enjoyed our partnership with Regional Foundation. I also want to thank John Chin, I believe he's in the room, in the Philadelphia Chinatown Development Court for hosting us in this space. When we talk about better together, we talk about community and partnership. There are very few spaces where we can really have this conversation in the heart of community. Before I get into what this theme means to me, I would like to share a little bit about myself. You heard some. I'm from Philly. I grew up in Mount Airy, born and raised, went to Girls High, 233. Girls High, girls in here. All right. And as we all do in Philly, you can take the bus across town, you can hop on the subway. And I think early on, I would ride the L bus down to Broad and Albany. And even before that, I went to school out in Abington. And I noticed how neighborhoods changed. Even in a 30-minute bus ride, my neighborhood was different. East Mount Airy is very different than West Mount Airy. If you're from Philly, you know what that means. And you go down Stanton Avenue, you get to Broad and Albany, and it really changes. And so early on, I picked up that people live in different communities, houses are different, the stores are different, the schools are different. So I always had an interest in why are things different. So I was fortunate when I was in high school to get an internship through the Inroads organization and work for a bank in their commercial real estate group. And I worked there all through college. When I came back to Philly to work, I was a commercial real estate credit analyst, and I worked on projects like Progress Plaza. We helped churches develop elder care homes, health facilities. We worked with a number of nonprofits. But back then, this was the 90s, there was no CRA office of the bank. It was all just built on whatever asset was being lent. So all of this community development was happening in commercial real estate. And back then, I don't think I realized the work I was doing was community development. We didn't call it that. So I left, I went to New York, and I did some corporate work, but then got into policy, social policy, moved down to DC, and spent a number of years at the Treasury Department working on affordable housing, small business, and community development policy. Some of you I know from my time as CDFI Fund Director. And that was a fabulous time to be at the Department of the Treasury, where we oversaw the movement of billions of dollars into communities, to organizations like you all represented in this room. It was a chance for you to see taxpayer dollars at work. It was the ultimate public-private partnership. And sitting as the director of the CDFI Fund, I got the reports, I got the information, and I did some site visits, but I was really far removed from the work that you all do every day. So then I got the call, and someone said, do you want to work for a CDFI? I said, oh, I like it at Treasury. They said, but this CDFI is in Philly. I said, okay, let's have another conversation. So I came back in June of 2023 as the first African-American woman president of PIDC. And I'd say that just to note that we've all been doing this for decades, and change has been slow, but there is change. And a lot of us show up professionally with our personal selves. We show up every day connected to the communities, and it means a lot to the community to see people like us leading organizations. Half the work you do happens as soon as you walk in a room, because the community knows that you have an ally, that you have someone who understands what you're working on and what you're going through. But it's also nice to be able to go around the different neighborhoods in Philly. Some of them do look the same, so we got to work on that, but some of them have really changed. And to see some of the projects that I worked on and to connect with people I went to school with. I just ran into someone here. Where's Dwayne? Dwayne? I haven't seen Dwayne in 25 years. But it's beautiful to see him in this room doing this work. And so that kind of brings me to the theme of this gathering, better together. It could not be more fitting. Because if there's one thing that we know, and that's proven in this work, is that lasting economic change is not a one-person act. It's not a solo act. It is through partnership. It is through persistence. It's through the steady, often unglamorous work of aligning capital, community voice, and institutional will, not for just a grant cycle, but for decades, until the neighborhood actually turns to a place where the residents, not just the new residents, but the residents who have been there for decades, the businesses who have been there for decades, see themselves and see their needs materializing. So the Regional Foundation has understood this for nearly 30 years. They've been investing across the region, backing resident-driven strategies. And they're building this ecosystem of organizations that know how to listen before they lead. And that's not a funding philosophy. It's a moral commitment to the idea that communities are the experts on what is needed in their neighborhoods. And it's the job of institutions like us to resource their wisdom, not to replace it. And at PIDC, we share that. And I want to explore today a little bit about what it looks like when our two approaches come together. So for those of you that don't know PIDC, I'm assuming that everyone knows what PIDC does. PIDC was founded in 1958. It was an unusual idea. It was a nonprofit, public-private partnership that was and is still led from a governance perspective jointly by the City of Philadelphia and the Chamber of Commerce of Greater Philadelphia. So we have a market perspective as well as a nonprofit perspective. And we've held that structure for about 70 years. And it's made us uniquely positioned to do what we do because we know that the market and the government can't do it alone. There needs to be that coming together, and it comes together in PIDC. In 2025, PIDC closed almost 300 transactions, and we supported 2,000 jobs across the city. This resulted in us deploying about $388 million in investment. But PIDC also has multiple entities. We have a government authority that handles large-scale real estate transactions, and we have a CDFI, PIDC Community Capital. We have Jenny and Brandon here. They're getting their food, who represent PIDC's Community Capital. And we can say that the majority of our investments are going into high-poverty neighborhoods. The core of our lending is supporting businesses that don't have access to capital from traditional financial institutions. But I give those numbers because that's what we're all supposed to do, right? We're supposed to report out on the percentages and the numbers, but that's not really the point. The point is that behind every transaction we do, there is a business, there is a family, there is a community that is relying on us to bring our expertise and our capital to the table to make, whether it's their dream, their idea, their community, a better place. And so when we think about what partnership looks like, I want to talk about Regional Foundation and PIDC. And we're investing in the same neighborhoods with that same long-term commitment. So the neighborhood planning grants that many of you receive help to build community-owned plans that help to define what happens in a neighborhood. It's rooted in what neighbors and residents and businesses actually want. And then PIDC comes in on the capital side with the same equation. So when the Regional Foundation grantee, many of you in this room, comes to us for financing, you arrive with a plan, and then we develop financing that fits that need. In 2025, we did a number of these transactions. We did about $18 million in financing to 60 nonprofits and small businesses across the city. And many of those borrowers were Black and brown owners, women owners. Many of them are in parts of the city where we have not seen a significant level of investment. But it also shows, again, better together, the leveraging of capital. The Regional Foundation's capital is multiplied, it's targeted, and it's reaching the people it was meant through unique partnerships with many of you in the room. Another example, just to bring it closer to a community, is PIDC provided a loan to the New Kensington CDC. It's Regional Foundation grantee that's working the River Wards, and we supported the acquisition and the pre-development costs for 3 properties on Kensington Ave, adjacent to McPherson Square. And that project directly aligned with the community's neighborhood plan. It's just the way that we work together. So I just want to talk about 3 opportunities in terms of looking ahead. First is the small business capital continuum. We need to do more together to fund businesses at every point. There needs to be a smoother handoff. There needs to be smoother collaboration. There needs to be a way that we each find where we fit and we take people from idea to microloan, to growth capital, to real estate ownership. We have seen such a rise in our small businesses wanting to own where they are. It signifies to the community that they want to be here, that they support the community, and they want to stay where they started. The second is through community facilities and infrastructure. And across this region, we have a lot of facilities that are aging. The capital needs are significant. And this is another way where together we can help to build that alignment. We can help to figure out what is the infrastructure if it's not being met by our larger government needs. What's that infrastructure that we can build together? Regional Foundation has long championed this type of neighborhood revitalization, and we are committed to working on those major investments. Lastly, I do want to call you all to a piece of action to kind of summarize this. Don't let today be a gathering where you come and you listen to people like me talk, and then you walk out the door. Be specific. Find one partner in this room whose work touches yours. Have one real conversation where you overlap and you could actually collaborate. Leave with a concrete step, even if that step is inviting someone to your office to talk more. Leave with that concrete step. That's how better together becomes more than just a theme. And then my offer to you all is come talk to us, PIDC. We want to be a resource. We want to be a partner. We want to continue doing these catalytic projects across communities in the region. We want to help with property acquisition, corridor initiatives, facility improvements, bridge loans, all the things that you all need to leverage to make sure that you're giving the community what they need. And so last, I'll just close where I started. Coming back to Philly, people always ask me, why did I leave a senior role at the federal government to come back to Philadelphia? And to me, the answer was clear. I came back to do the work I love in the city I love. There's a difference from being able to touch, shake the hand, give someone a hug who is benefiting from something that you do. We are not just numbers on reports. We're not just percentages. We are not just words. And I have a colleague that says everything is rainbows and unicorns. But the reality is it's not. If we talk real about our situation, we are in an environment that wants to stop us at every pivot, at every turn. They want to limit resources. They want to change how we talk. They want to change how we address this work. But that's why you're here. That's why you're in this room. And that's why you are committed every day to doing that really hard work. We've been here before. It looked a little different. When I started at the federal government, I came in under the Bush administration. The CDFI Fund was down to $50 million. They had lost half their staff. And over the next few administrations, they built that back up. It wasn't easy, it wasn't pleasant, but they built it back up. And they built it up in terms of just being focused. So regardless of what you call it, you're doing the work that matters in communities, you're doing it in partnership with organizations like the Regional Foundation, and you're making this better together. So if I could personally thank all of you for staying in this, for staying dedicated and staying focused, let me do that today. If no one's told you thank you for your work. And I thank you for your time today.